What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
This is Butch Slaughter, and you're listening to the echoes of Indiana Avenue. Welcome to my neighborhood, the Avenue. I grew up here, and each week I'll be sharing the sounds and stories of the people that made the Avenue great.
Welcome back to the Avenue. Over the last few months, you may have noticed some new voices on Echoes of Indiana Avenue, as both Debbie Nelson and me, Rodney Stepp, have served as guest hosts for Herman Butch Slaughter. That change came after Butch's decision to step away from Echoes of Indiana Avenue. Butch has served as narrator of Echoes of Indiana Avenue since the show's creation in 2020 by WFYI producer and host Kyle Long. As a journalist, Long had been covering the historic Indiana Avenue music scene since 2009, and he felt the neighborhood's remarkable legacy of arts and culture deserved a dedicated platform, a space where the people and places that made the Avenue great could be celebrated in depth. Butch Slaughter was among a short list of narrators Long considered for the show. He felt Butch's distinctive voice would add a dramatic edge to the program, and it did. During Butch's long and successful run, the show received a regional Edward R. Murrow Award, among many other notable achievements. On behalf of WFYI, I'd like to thank Butch for his outstanding contribution to the show. On that note, I'm excited to share that I'll be stepping in as the new host of Echoes of Indiana Avenue. And Echoes creator Kyle Long will continue as the show's writer and producer. We appreciate all our dedicated listeners that meet us here each week on the Avenue. And we look forward to sharing many more years of music and storytelling. In appreciation of Butch's contribution to Echoes of Indiana Avenue, on this week's show, we'll look back at the history of his group, Words of Wisdom. During the 1970s, the Words of Wisdom were a popular act in the Naptown soul scene. Though they only issued 2 singles during their career, the group made a lasting impact. Just ask Kenny Babyface Edmonds. During a 2017 conversation with Kyle Long, he named Words of Wisdom as an early influence.
Oh, they were like superstars to us at that point. We were like, oh my God, it's Words of Wisdom. They had already made it. They were who we were trying to be.
For the next hour, we will share music from Words of Wisdom, along with interviews featuring the band's members, including Butch Slaughter, lead vocalist Steve Odell, bassist Gary Amos, and the band's manager, Rickie Clark. Coincidentally, I grew up down the street from Butch in the Flanner House Homes neighborhood. During an interview with Kyle Long, Butch said it was my band, The Diplomats, that inspired him to pursue music.
I remember you telling me that one of the first local bands you saw, one of the first local soul bands you saw was Rodney Stepp and the Diplomats. Is that right?
You hit it right on the head. That was it. One of my buddies that was a vocalist, he said, Butch, you got to come back and see what's going on in the neighborhood. I said, what is it? He said, I'm not going to tell you. You got to come and see. So I went home. We scheduled for me to come home on the weekend. He said, I said, what is it you want? And he walked me over to he still hadn't told me anything. Walked me over to Bobby Gayhart's house. That was one of the places that they rehearsed. And I heard all this music, and I walked in the door, and they are all standing there. 4 horns. I fell in love with that. 4 horns, but just the huge sound. The only thing was missing was singing. My mind started working. I said, wow, that's the only thing missing, this voice or something. I'll get them together. And that's what I did. I put a group together. It took me, I guess it took me really about 2.5 years.
We'll hear more from Butch in a moment, but first, let's listen to music from Words of Wisdom off their 1973 single for Lamp Records. This is Do You Understand Me Now?
Money, never thought of losing you, 'cause I knew the pain would hurt, and I wouldn't know what to do. Understand me
That was the Naptown soul group Words of Wisdom with Do You Understand Me Now? On this week's show, we're exploring the music and history of Words of Wisdom. In 2017, Kyle Long spoke with the group's founder, Herman Butch Slaughter. They discussed the group's early years and the influence of Butch's mother-in-law, Flo Garvin, a legendary Indianapolis vocalist and pianist.
How did you go about putting a singing group together?
Well, it was several tries, but I kept coming back to the same people. Rosa Hart. I recruited her and her sister. This was the beginning of the Words of Wisdom. I had tried with other groups too, but and a gentleman named Michael Vaughn and my wife. I was married to Karen Garvin, Flo Garvin. So we started this group, and then I said, now we need a manager. And we went and got Rickie Clark.
And that was the beginnings of Words of Wisdom.
That was the beginnings of the Words of Wisdom.
But before we get too deep into that, I did want to ask about Flo Garvin. Tell people a little bit about the significance of Flo Garvin. Did you get to know her very well?
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
She was one of the hippest mother-in-laws you could have. I met some very famous people in her home. Some people that you may know their names, but a lot of people don't. I got to go at a very young age to a nightclub because my girlfriend's mother
Right. So
worked
she
there.
snuck you in.
I was 17 years old, 16. I'm sitting there at the bar.
Yeah. And what kind of artist was Flo Garvin as a performer?
Oh, she was elegant.
Yeah.
She was a very soft singer. She could sing in a whisper and bat her eyelashes and just charm you to death. She was a lovely entertainer.
I'm just Miss, and you're his missus. Me, he looks sad, but it's you he kisses. You're in his arms, his life is yours, and I'm on the outside looking in.
Did you take a lot of influence? I mean, you're an impressionable young man, and you're in this nightclub watching this great talent perform. Did you take a lot of influence from that?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
but even more so, she had very talented children. Her eldest son, Buzzard, was the drummer for the Highlighters.
Okay.
And
Dwayne Garvin.
Dwayne
right?
Garvin.
Yeah.
And he played for a lot of people. I miss him so much, and I wish he was here to help me with this music that I'm doing now.
Sure.
But he played with Ebony Rhythm, Funk Campaign. I mean, you name it.
In 2018, Cal Long spoke with Words of Wisdom's lead vocalist Steve Odell, who shared his memories of joining the group.
How did you get connected with the members of this group?
Herman
Slaughter?
Butch Bird dogged me.
You guys went to school together, but he was a couple grades ahead of you, right?
He was a couple of grades, and he and his then wife were wanting to put a group together, and we ran into each other, and so we really got together in their apartment, and we started kind of working up some songs we thought we could sing, and we were doing it by the seat of our pants. I mean, solely. It was, I don't think we had, at least in my mindset, that we had a master plan. It was, hey, let's see what happens with this. Peaches came in the group. She was the alto, and Karen was the soprano, and so we started our group. I think we were had the Friends of Distinction in the back of our mind, and we knew it was different because wasn't a whole lot of folks doing that sort of thing. And we meshed together really well right off the bat. From the day one, I mean, every time we went out, boom, we would kind of knock it out of the park. And I remember we even got a gig at Black Expo. It was at the fairgrounds. And we were opening for Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
It was the Superfly Review with Curtis Mayfield. Is that the concert?
Was that it? Oh, okay. But I remember us going up on that stage. Biggest stage we had ever been on. This was big that time. And when the spotlights hit, the thing that I remember the most was I can't see anybody. I could hear them, but I can't see anybody out in the audience. And from the downstroke, all of a sudden, I mean, people went, wow. And I mean, the place went crazy. And from that point on, we were running. I mean, we were getting gigs pretty regularly.
So you mentioned the group was successful on the live circuit. You were getting booked for different clubs and events and playing with huge superstar acts. When did you in the group start thinking about making a record? Is that something you wanted to do, or is that something?
Yeah. I think we were all looking to find some material to record, and that's how we kind of came across Moose.
Charles Moose Amos, who wrote all the material that Words of Wisdom would record. Yeah.
On Lamp Records, yeah.
Yeah.
So we worked with Moose for, I don't know, maybe a couple of months or so, and we're finally able. We at that time had hooked up with Rickie Clark.
He was the group's manager. He was a well-known DJ on WTLC, and he became the group's manager, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so when we were ready to go in the studio, he got us some time in the studio, and we cut those 2, maybe 3 records, because I found another one. We sold those. The neat thing, that first record that we put out, that was another milestone for us, hearing yourself on the radio. And that was a big deal. And I remember we hit the radio on what was called the extra list. So it wasn't the top 40. You were like in the top 45 or whatever. And we get a little playing time. And then the next week it went into like 38. So now we're in the top 40. Then the next week it's up in the top, it's like 21. And our record went like in 4 weeks from the extra list to like number 9 or 8 on TLC's list.
All the music Words of Wisdom recorded was written and arranged by Charles Moose Amos. Moose is an unsung figure in the Naptown music scene, known for his work with groups including the Precisions, the Monteques, and Care Package. Though Moose was not a member of Words of Wisdom, his influence on the group was huge. His brother, Gary Amos, was the bassist for Words of Wisdom's backing band. During a 2017 conversation with Kyle Long, Gary shared his thoughts on working with Moose.
When I got into the music, then that's every place I go, oh, you Moose brother, your brother this, your brother that. And I would look at, it's not too many guys singing and playing at the same time and writing and conducting and then I realized, okay, he must be, and by this time I'm with Butch then, so it wasn't until later in life, and then it wasn't until way after we recorded You Made Me Everything, Do You Understand Me, that I really recognized his true talent.
Next, we'll hear Butch's thoughts on Moose.
Moose was everybody's big brother. He was a big guy, and he was always singing. He was always singing and writing songs, and he was always happy. But he was very intense when he was teaching you a song. Moose was so wrapped up in his music that he was like in the Twilight Zone, walking around his music in his head all the time.
Steve Odell also shared his memories of Moose.
Moose was a big teddy bear, but Moose was, in some ways, he was different. But we were constantly, Moose had a lot of songs. We were trying to find what best fit us and what we connected the best with. And so that's how we came up with those couple of songs or whatever. Moose was really patient with us and teaching us the parts and the harmony parts, and we collaborated with him, but they were his songs.
Up next, we'll hear music from Moose's band, the Monteques. They recorded a single for Lamp Records in 1970. This is Take Another Look.
I don't know what I woke up today. A single one who makes me feel this way. Let me take another look into your eyes. Maybe we'll see what they visualize. I'm not afraid to make a change. With beauty like yours, dreams will live for you. Stars are the rainbow to believe in something that can be.
I'm Rodney Stepp, your host for this edition of Echoes of Indiana Avenue. On this week's show, we're exploring the music and history of Words of Wisdom, a Naptown soul group founded by Herman Butch Slaughter during the early 1970s. Up next, we'll listen to music from their 1973 single for Lamp Records. This is You Made Me Everything.
Oh, baby, then again I go down on my knees and I pray. Just Lord, thank you, Lord, send me out of my way. For you are my oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
That was Words of Wisdom with You Made Me Everything. On this week's show, we're exploring the group's music and history. Up next, we'll hear from Words of Wisdom manager Rickie Clark. During the 1970s, Clark was a popular DJ on WTLC. He used his connections in the music industry to create opportunities for the Words of Wisdom. Clark discussed his history with the group during a 2017 interview with Kyle Long.
My first group that I was able to work with was the Words of Wisdom, which was, the group that Mr. Herman Butch Slaughter
Yes.
had created.
And I actually wanted to move into that area of your life right now. In the 70s, you started working as sort of in the music industry as a manager for groups, right? And one of those groups was the local vocal group, Words of Wisdom.
That was my first real, Herman, and everybody knows him as Butch, sought me out and said, man, we got this group and I'd like for you to come and check it out. And for some reason, because I had people that approached me before, but this time, probably divine intervention. I said, okay, cool, without any hesitation. And I remember going to Herman's house, and they were practicing at his home. And, I checked him out. I like what I saw, like what I heard. And I'm thinking, okay, this could work. Because the previous groups from Indy they didn't have the 2 guys and 2 girls like the Words of Wisdom. I thought, well, this is different. And so, plus they were talented. They were very talented. So I started working with them, and they were a class act. And so that's what I wanted to portray to the audience. And, they had style, and we wanted to keep that style and maintain the style. And then, of course, as the music kind of went from one end to the other, they were able to, follow that style. We were dressed up in tuxes for a while and suits for a while, and then we had dressed like the Jackson 5 were doing at the time, and bare chested for the guys, because I'm watching how the women would respond to the guys, and then our girls were very attractive, so I watched all the guys mouth wide open looking at them. So you play to your audience, and so that was part of the chemistry that I wanted to put together, and it just gelled.
How was the group received here in the local community?
Oh, very well. They were one of the top groups coming out of Indy. They worked a lot. In fact, for quite a while there, it was they were working someplace every weekend. We were well on our way.
And Mr. Clark, I read somewhere, I think in an old issue of the Indianapolis Recorder, that you were also connected in the 70s with an organization out of Philadelphia called WMOT, which was a talent. They represented Blue Magic and
Men of Talent.
Yeah, what was your relationship with this group?
Well, we did. I had the group on a show when Blue Magic first came into being. They had a record called Spell, and so I was at the station and I got a call from Atlantic Records, which was the subsidiary of the label that they were on. They wasn't on WMOT at that particular time because WMOT was their management company, and they hadn't did the label as of yet. And so I got them they were on doing some tour dates and things, so I talked their management into adding Indianapolis since they were in Chicago. We just come on down to Indy. Anyway, we did a show at the old Stouffer's Inn. So I started talking to their road manager, and from there he put me in contact with the folks at WMOT Productions, which was Steve Bernstein and Alan Rubin. And I just, as Alan will say, I just basically wore them out. I said, look, I got this group, you got to do this, you got to do that, da-da-da-da. And I kind of did a little arm twisting. I said, all right, now, Blue Magic, they just had one record, They got another record, want to come out here, and you do want it played here in other markets that I can pick up my phone and say, hey, So anyway, they said, okay, cool. And so I sent them the record that was out. And
the Words of Wisdom.
Yeah, the Words
45,
of Wisdom record. And they liked what they heard. They liked the fact it was 2 guys and 2 gals. That was unique. And, we got signed to them, their production company, which later became WMOT Records.
So you leveraged your connections in the radio industry to help spread the word about Words of Wisdom.
Yeah, that's what you do, Beck.
Yes,
that's how you do it. That's how you work it.
Exactly.
That's how you work it. So, yeah.
And ultimately, kind of, the Words of Wisdom, obviously a great band, and they made this great record that still sounds wonderful today, but they didn't have that big breakthrough, right? What did or didn't happen that prevented that from happening? Seems like there's a lot of expectation that they would eventually have this breakout moment.
Yeah. Here's the real deal on that. They were out on tour and preparing for their recording, going in the studio. We're signed with WMOT Productions, and they're working on stuff. And meanwhile, while they're working on things, because they still had, Blue Magic was their big act. So we wouldn't have to sit and wait. Like I said, they sent us out. And so while we were out, were we in Nova Scotia when? Yes, sir. Yeah. So they were in Nova Scotia, and I get this call. I don't know if it was from Butch or Steve. He could help me out on that. That there's an issue with the group. The girls are beginning to miss their boyfriends. And I said, what? Oh, the girls are beginning to miss their boyfriends. And so we had one particular girl that I think she was the newest girl, but she was talking, convincing our other girl, Brenda and Pat. Brenda was in Pat's ear. Well, Pat vocally sounded extremely close to Diana Ross. That's one of the things that WMOT liked about the group, because they said, okay, we got this and that, and we've got a singer within the group. The group is strong, but we've got this girl who sounds extremely close to Diana Ross. You can close your eyes and you think it's Diana Ross. So they basically wanted to come home. The girls wanted to come home. And I knew, and I think Butch knew and Steve knew at the time, if they came home and got with their boyfriends, that would be a major issue. That would be a problem. And thus it was. When I went to WMOT Productions, Alan and Steve, and told them what was going on, they said, well, you got to fix it, because, they're next on the agenda. And we've already got the studio time laid out, and the song has been written for them, especially for them. And we all tried to convince both Brenda and Pat to not do this, stay in the group. Because, they're way up in Nova Scotia, and they got more tour dates, another 2 or 3 weeks before they're scheduled to go in the studio. So that, I think, I know that was the reason, because the song that had been written for them was the song that helped get them another gold record. And every time I hear this record, it's like, man, that was not for him. That was supposed to be for the Words of Wisdom. And that particular song, and I don't even know whether Butch even realized this, because
What is it?
Love Won't Let Me Wait, which was a big hit for Major Harris.
Yeah.
Major had just been signed to the label, but that song was not his song. It was the Words of Wisdom song. It was designed, it was created for them. When Bobby Eli and some of the other guys, which all these guys, the musicians and producers and so on, what have you, were actually part of MSSB. And they all worked with the different, Sigma Sound and Gamble and Huff and WMOT and everybody back then, the Delphonics and all that. OJ's, Harold Melvin's Blue Notes. I mean, Patti LaBelle, you could just go on and on. And it was designed to be a duet with Steve and Pat doing the lead. So when that happened, that just shot us out of the water.
Next, Words of Wisdom's lead vocalist Steve Odell will share his version of the story.
We were gigging pretty heavy at that time, and we're going up into Canada, and they've got us booked. We've got a whole 6-week tour in Canada, starting out in Toronto and going all the way over to Halifax. And we're getting rave reviews. And we've got a pretty good show. Our show is very professional by now. We really fine-tuned it with the not only our voices, but with the music and coordinating. So you've got a really good show going. And we were scheduled, we had it all scheduled out. We'd end up in Halifax, and from Nova Scotia, we were heading down the East Coast, show up in Philly. We were scheduled to go into Sigma Sound Studios. Bobby Eli had this song they had gotten hooked up with. And Bobby Eli was the rhythm guitar player for all of the sessions that were going on in Sigma Sounds. And so we're all set and ready. Unfortunately, and unbeknownst to us, and to this day I regret that they didn't at least come to us and say, hey, we're not happy, or we don't like. And to this day, I don't know what it was. But in the middle of the night, Pat's husband and Brenda's boyfriend drove all the way from Indiana to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and they left in the middle of the night. And to this day, I don't know why. And the one thing that I can say, that Butch and I were always professional. If anything, we looked out after these two young ladies as we did the others, like little sisters. You take care of them. You make sure they're out on the road. You're out on the road with them. You make sure they're okay. I thought we were close and all. We knew their husband and boyfriend. So when that happened, we showed up in Philly with half a group. The group really was infatuated with Pat, the soprano, because she sounded just like Diana Ross. And that was a kicker for them. So they had me fly back to Indianapolis. Said, we can live without Brenda. I didn't think so. But they said, but see if you can get Pat to come back. And I came back and I talked with Pat and talked with her and her husband. And you could tell at that point, Pat didn't really want to leave. It was her husband. But they agreed, okay, yeah, well, they want her that bad, then yeah, she'll come back to the group. I said, great. We got tickets, plane tickets, to fly back to Philly the next morning. I show up at their apartment. They won't answer the door. And you can hear them, but they won't answer the door. And I'm sure she wants to come, but he doesn't want to come. So I go back to Philly, and unfortunately, that song that we knew when we heard the song that it was a hit. It didn't matter who sung the song. If we were going to be a one-hit wonder, this was going to be the song we were going to be a one-hit wonder with. It was just you knew it was going to be a hit record. And to see that go away, and it just so happens, as timing would be, that Major Harris had just left the Delphonics. So they said they've got a chance at Major Harris. So they've got a song, they just don't have anybody to perform it.
Yeah, I can't imagine how crushing that must have been in some ways, especially as you watched this song climb the charts to the #1 position. How did you feel hearing that song at the height of its popularity? Was it an experience where you just felt sick, or I can't imagine?
Well, it's you get past it. You just, one thing, you look and you always constantly are thinking, what could have been? What if?
The time is right. You hold me tight, and love's got me high. please tell me yes, and don't say no, honey, not tonight. I need to have you next to me.
After recovering from the departure of vocalist Pat Wilson and Brenda Averiette, Words of Wisdom continued on. Steve recalled the group's efforts to rebuild.
We continued on. I mean, Butch and I continued on. We knew one thing, what we had wasn't going to work. So we regrouped. It took us maybe 6 months, but we hooked up with a girl named Debbie Dickinson. So now we're a 3-piece stand-up vocal act, 2 guys and a girl. And we ended up we were different because we only had the 3-part harmony. But we regrouped and we were still good. And that's when we hit the Chitlin circuit. And we toured with James Brown. We got to know several fairly well-known acts that were stationed out of the Atlanta area, Georgia area, Florida area. I don't think we ever got our legs completely under us. We could still perform. But we must have did something right because James Brown fired us. We were in Selma, Alabama, and we had been with Brown for quite a while now. And the way the routine went was that we performed just before James Brown came out. And so we put on one of the hardest shows we ever put on out in that baseball field. And, I mean, we were rocking. We finished up with a pretty hot tune. The crowd was just going crazy. I remember they had to bring the police out kind of around the front of the stage. And, I mean, we were just tearing up. Go off stage. We always had that routine. We go off stage, come back when, you take an encore and sing a few more bars and then you're done. We took, 2, 3 curtain calls. I mean, we just kept coming back. James Brown fired us. And we learned that you don't do excessive curtain calls. That's saved for James Brown. Or for whoever is the headliner.
According to Steve, times were tough for Words of Wisdom during their final days, but he said the group is proud of their legacy.
I tell people to this day, I said, you want to know how hard it was, how bad it was? I can remember when we were in Georgia, having just enough money to be able to have rice and Kool-Aid. And then we had to figure out, did we want to put the sugar in our rice or did we want to put the sugar in our Kool-Aid? And that's how we were living. If we were going to keep the band and keep the band together, the band had to get paid. So the last people to get paid were the employer. And we were the employer. So if we were going to keep them contained, we had to pay them. Always think, man, we could have did this a little better here. We could have did maybe this a little better. So I'm always self-conscious when I hear myself back. Always I'm thinking, boy, I could have done that a little better. Or I missed an opportunity to. So I'm always a little self-conscious with it. So having said that, I still enjoy looking back and reminiscing. It was still one of those things where eventually you're either all in or you're all out. And I was all in.
Up next, we'll hear Words of Wisdom's final single, You're a Friend of Mine, released in 1976.
Always come to me when he's in trouble. Who he thinks I am, I'll never discover. He thinks I'm someone to always lean on. When will he learn to lean on his own? 'Cause he's a friend of mine. Yes, he's a friend of mine. Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was Words of Wisdom with their final release, You're a Friend of Mine, written by Charles Moose Amos. Words of Wisdom split apart during the late 1970s, but their music continues to reach new listeners, including the Nigerian-Canadian rapper Toby. His 2022 single, Made Me Everything, sampled the Words of Wisdom song, You Made Me Everything.
Got you, babe, watching like I'm Hasselhoff. Can't ignore, going for your misses like I grabbed the ball. Boy, the agent's paranoid, so much back and forth. I touched down in New York, Eli Manning, boy. All my life, I got off on the...
A video WFYI's Kyle Long took of Butch Slaughter's reaction to the song went viral online, reaching over 1 million views on TikTok. We'll end this week's show with an excerpt from that video.
Oh, man.
What do you think about that?
Oh, that's great, man. Oh, man. Man.
What's your reaction to this? I want to get your reaction to this.
Outstanding.
Yeah?
I'm just blown away. I couldn't imagine the kids finding this music and making something out of it like that. Oh, man. I thought it was fantastic.
You know, Moose Amos wrote those songs. What do you think he'd think about this?
He's the same as me.
Yeah.
He'd be blown away.
Yeah.
The fact that our music is still alive. You know, in Canada, as a matter of fact, you know, reached the world, around the world.
What would you say to these rappers who sampled this, if you could tell them something about this music, what it means to you, and seeing it shared in this way?
I just hope that someone does your music the same way for you. I hope that, you know, the music you curate to somebody likes it enough to do it again. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just wanted to get your reaction to that.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
man.
That's what I wanted to show you.
Oh, Kyle. That's like Christmas. Oh, gosh. I can't wait to tell the other people.
That's all the time we have for this week. We'd like to dedicate this show to the memory of Words of Wisdom vocalist Sharon Harrison, who died in 2025. We send our condolences to her family and friends. You can meet me here on the Avenue again next week, same time, same place. And you can find the Echoes of Indiana Avenue podcast at WFYI.org or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you appreciate the arts and culture programs you hear on this station, please consider making a donation now at WFYI.org/give. Echoes of Indiana Avenue is written and produced by Kyle Long. Our podcast is edited by Holly Summers, and our radio director at WFYI is Roxana Caldwell. And I'm your host, Rodney Stepp. Thanks for listening.
Nobody knows on Naptown baby, like I do. Nobody knows on Naptown, baby, like I do. If you will stop and listen, I will tell you a thing or two.